Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Discussion. My name is Drew. Today, I've seen people looking who would run in 2024. I believe Trump will run, but this first one is if Trump doesn't run, who I think a team would be of a president and vice president on a ticket against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the incumbents. I think Ron DeSantis, because he's teased earlier this week, he didn't rule out running for the presidency. And Ted Cruz, I think, the stars are aligning. He ran in 2016. He objected to the Electoral College. And I think he's trying to tap into Trump's Make America Great Again movement and base to try and be a legitimate contender in 2024. Do I think Ted Cruz will get the presidential nomination? Possibly. I just think DeSantis right now has a better shot, at least to beat Biden and Harris. So, without further ado, I put in the solid blue states, and I put in some tilt red states and just tilt states that I think, and then the toss-up states. As you see, the toss-up states are Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I believe these 6 states will decide the 2024 election. So let's jump into the numbers game. In 2020, Joe Biden won the state of Nevada with 703,000 votes and 486, and Trump won Nevada with 669,890 votes. Biden beat him by 2.4%. And if you look at the numbers, there was largely, if I go here in 2016, there was largely a bigger turnout for just numbers in general than in 2020. As you see, the numbers in 2020 were a lot bigger than they were in 2020 or 2016. So, also, if you look here, a big thing to consider is the third-party candidate. In the third party, Gary Johnson got 37,384 votes in the state of Nevada. In 2020, there really wasn't, Joe Jorgensen really wasn't on even anything. Barely got any votes. Versus in 2016, which I think is what hurt Trump a little bit, is independents pulled for Johnson more than they did in 2020 for Joe Jorgensen. So if you look here, Trump won because he got 45%, and he was basically around in the 40%. 45 in Washoe, 41 in Clark. In 2020, in Washoe, he got 46, so bigger turnout for Trump, and in Clark, he got bigger turnout. But also, the same could go for Joe Biden, as if you look here, Hillary got 46% of the vote, and in Clark, she got 52. In 2020, Biden got over 50%, and Biden got right around the 53. So, I would say for the Nevada, I believe it will go to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on a lean. And here's why. We don't know who the third-party candidate could be, or if it will be legitimately be able to get votes. And in 2020 is exactly what happened. There wasn't a legitimate third-party candidate that didn't take votes away from Joe Biden or Donald Trump, and look at the outcome. I think there will be higher voter numbers, higher voter turnout, depending on the way Biden's presidency goes. It hasn't started out the best, but I still think Biden on a lean will get Nevada. Next, let's go to Arizona. Arizona in 2020 went for Joe Biden by around 1.6 million, 72,143 for Biden, 1.6 million, 61,686 for Donald Trump. Biden won the state by 0.4%. Very close margin. And if you look, Maricopa came out big for Biden. He got 50% of the vote. Pima, Santa Cruz, Coconino, and Apeka. So let's compare that to in 2016. Arizona. Again, larger voter turnout. Way larger than in 2020 than in 2016. But also look, another thing to consider, a legitimate third-party candidate got over 100,000 votes. In 2020, Joe Jorgensen really didn't do as hot. Or that's Nevada, I'm sorry. In Arizona, Joe Jorgensen really didn't do too hot. Which I believe if there was 100, look at the difference here. It's a difference of almost 11,000 votes, roughly estimated. In 2016, Johnson got 100,000 votes, which if you put those 100,000 votes in Hillary's column, she would have flipped the state. So honestly, if you really want to consider a 2024 third-party candidate will very much play the key in this election, depending on if they're a legitimate, like Gary Johnson, or if they're a Joe Jorgensen. So, as you look here in Maricopa is always a very big county. Biden, a very big county of how the state will go. Biden got 50.3%, Trump 48.1%. In 2016, in Maricopa, it went red to Donald Trump, 47.7 to 44.8. But look at Gary Johnson, 4.3%. That could have flipped the county. And those 67,000 votes, if put in Hillary's column, would have definitely made the state margins closer. That's what I mean. In all of the counties, he was constantly getting, right there in Pima, he got 3.7%. Hillary won by 53.3% in Pima. Let's look Biden's margin. He got 58.6%. So take away the third-party candidate, and Hillary's numbers would have right been at 50, roughly. I'm just saying. Not all middle voters would have voted possibly for Hillary, but I'm making that prediction because if you look here, when there wasn't a legitimate third-party candidate, Trump's numbers only went up possibly 1%, and Joe Biden's skyrocketed almost. So I think a legitimate third-party candidate will play into the factor. Now, back to the big question. Do I think Ron DeSantis and Ted Cruz can flip Arizona? I think they can. On a tilt. I think it will be very close. I think the numbers will be very close. They may win by only 0.2%, but I think they can flip the state, especially if somebody gears up and runs as a third-party candidate. Also a third-party candidate if Trump doesn't get the Republican nomination, which I think he will if he runs, but if he doesn't, he could run as a third-party candidate. And he could seriously take votes away I think he could take votes away, though, more Ron DeSantis and Ted Cruz than Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So possibly not him, but I think somebody right smack dab in the middle could seriously impact the outcome of a lot of these battleground states. Next battleground state is Georgia. I can't believe in 2020 is where I'm at now, is where we're all at now. I can't believe Georgia is a swing state. Because if you look in 2016, Trump won the state by over 5%. Over 5%. And he did pretty much a lot of numbers have skyrocketed, but Gary Johnson right there, 3%. If you add that 3% to Hillary, she's made it a 2% state. But right here, numbers also got bigger. But this is what you need to pay attention. This is what we all have to pay attention to in the upcoming. These counties around Atlanta. Also, these counties down here by Columbus. Because if you look down there by Columbus, Gary Johnson kind of played a role, 1%. And up here in Fulton, for example, Gary Johnson got 3%, which was hurting Hillary's margins. And these numbers. Clark County is a big one. He got 4.4%. Versus in 2020, when Biden got 70%. In Hillary in 2016 got 65%. So 5% difference. Right hit there, Gary Johnson, 4.4%. So almost that 4.4% of people all voted supposedly for Biden. Because his numbers went up to 70%. Again, I think a third party will do a lot of good. But honestly, Ron DeSantis has a big hold in Florida. And I think the way Ted Cruz is, and I think the way Ron DeSantis is, I think they can undo Stacey Abrams' work. And I think Georgia goes to them on a lean. Next. Let's look at Wisconsin. Let's take a look at Wisconsin. Wisconsin went very over a little bit for Trump. 47.2% to 46.5% for Hillary. Numbers, again, would have went up in 2020 because of more voter registration. But look at Gary Johnson again. 3.6% of people voted for Gary Johnson. Put those numbers into that category. And now let's look at Wisconsin in 2020. Biden won the state, but no third-party candidate. So Hillary, 3.6, that would have roughly put 3.6 off of Hillary's 46.5 to get to 49. That's what I mean. Portage, a lot of these counties. Let's see how Portage went in 2016. It went to Hillary, but I can say Donald Trump, 47.5 to 50.3. Donald Trump narrowed the margin in those counties, which I can say. Losing the state, but he was narrowing some of those margins. In other states, in other counties, he did not do as good. For example, Brown County kind of went swing to Donald Trump, like lean. But honestly, Wisconsin, I think, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say Wisconsin goes lean to the Ron DeSantis, Ted Cruz column, which would put them at 270. But we still have two more battleground states to go. Two of some of the biggest heavy hitters of the night, Michigan and PA. They both went for Trump in 2016. They both didn't go for Trump in 2020. First, let's check out Michigan, because we're up north. Michigan went for Trump by 0.3% in 2020. Michigan went for Joe Biden by around around a little above 2%. So, again, there was no third-party candidate. Look, Johnson took 3.6% of that vote. If you throw that in Hillary's column, that puts her at 50.6. What number? What percentage of voters did Joe Biden get? 50.6. A legitimate third-party candidate could make or break the 2024 election for the Republicans. And I say that because facts don't lie. People in the middle, for some reason, must tend to vote Democrat, or at least for Joe Biden. Joe Biden was a moderate Democrat. He ran off of that. Is he a moderate now he's in office? Absolutely not, in my opinion. He's not a moderate at all. But he ran on that. I knew it wasn't going to stick if he got in office. I still thought if he got in office. I think he surprised people. But look, legitimate third-party candidate. In some of these counties, let's look at Lena New. Lena New went red because Gary Johnson got 3.4% of the vote. Add that to Hillary's numbers. She could have flipped the county, and I think that's what happened right there. A couple people switched from voting for Donald Trump, but overall, the county flipped. Michigan, I think, I'll put in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's by a lean. If I can get it here, yep. And the last state on the list. Good old Keystone State, Pennsylvania. Trump won the state by a little under 0.7% to be exact. Gary Johnson, I always say to look at him because let's see how it goes. 2.4%. If you look in PA, by the votes, size of the lead. Biden won the state by, we can pull it up here. I don't need all the stat lines. Right here. 50%. He won it by a little less than 2%. But again, let's look at view all. Joe Jorgensen, 1.1%. Gary Johnson got 2.4. Could be. If you add that 1.1%, that puts him within 0.1%. 0.1%. So if Joe Jorgensen could have matched Johnson's numbers, Pennsylvania could have went for Trump in 2020. Let's check the election map. You can see a lot of these counties, Center County, went for Hillary, but look at Johnson's numbers. 3.4%, 48%, let's keep that in mind, in 2020. Center County went to Joe Biden by 51%. So Biden improved in Center County by 3%. That's what I mean. Gary Johnson made the election, the 2016 election, for Donald Trump. Because if you look, numbers don't lie, 3.4% all went in that Hillary column, or all went in that Joe Biden column in 2020. Numbers right there. I'm saying there was voter registration plays a key, but just looking at the number comparisons, that's what happened. And that's why Biden and Harris won the state. So I think with a legitimate third-party candidate, I think DeSantis can channel those without one. I think Ron DeSantis and Ted Cruz can channel those middle line voters into voting their way. And I would say Pennsylvania on tilt. leaving the final 290 for DeSantis and Cruz, knocking off Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to 248. I think it will be a very, very close election. As you see, I say it's very tough to hold a lead. It is very tough to hold a lead. And I don't think Joe Biden can do it. I really don't. If he runs again, which he already said he might not run again, which would leave the door open for Kamala Harris. That's for a different video. But overall, you see, I think Ron DeSantis and Ted Cruz can flip all the states back except Michigan and Nevada. Nevada didn't go for Trump in 2016, but I think Ron DeSantis can flip all the states except Michigan. So, with that, that's your final map. Remember to like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. I'm trying to grow, trying to be a big figure for youth politics and a youth advocator. So, with that, I hope everyone has a good night, and thank you.